Hey everyone, Dave Baker. This is my second video, and been sort of challenged by the Lord lately. He wants me to give my testimony and sort of leave it up there for people to hear how I came to know the Lord. So you have to forgive me, I've just finished baking all night. So if you ever want to check out what I actually do, it's Baker Dave Bateman's Bay on Facebook. You can have a look at all the breads and stuff that I do during the day as my new job. I just kind of do it so that I can study and do the Lord's work. More importantly, stay in the Word and get to know Him. Okay. So in a previous life, I'll start from the beginning. I had a job in Iraq, believe it or not, as an operations manager. I was working for a large catering company. And we had a lot of contracts over there, so kind of a dangerous place, as everyone knows. I hadn't actually told any of my family that I'd gone over there, but I went over there anyway. I was looking after the Camp Cropper prison, feeding all the prisoners at the Victory Base. So we had, I think, 100,000 prisoners we were feeding there. Had a big team there. I was leading that, or part of a group of guys that led that. We were doing the maintenance and construction on all the CivPol projects across Iraq. So we had all the police training centres. As they blow them up, we would rebuild them, and we were doing all of the people for that. That was part of my job, and running logistics, so running supply chains out to all of these areas around Iraq. And we had 2 hospitals as well, one in Balad and one at the Victory Base. So my job as an operations manager was to make sure that we had enough people. The people were happy, and I'd fly around on helicopters making sure that was the case. So replacing people as they left us to be somewhere else, and usually that wasn't in a good way, but that was my job, and I was well paid for that. Anyway, so this is how I came to know the Lord, believe it or not. There was one day I needed to go and pick up the other guy that worked with me. He was coming in, and what we did was we worked 6 months on and we worked 1 month off, because it was so dangerous coming in and out of Iraq, because we weren't allowed to go through the military place. We had to actually go to the Baghdad International Airport. They called it the BIAP. So we would work 6 months and then we'd have a whole month off. And my back-to-back, the other guy that worked with me, he was coming in and he needed to be picked up because we weren't exactly near the BIAP. We actually were a little ways away in the Victory Base, which was just a little bit adjacent to that, but it took a little while to get there through all the checkpoints and that sort of stuff. So one day, he rang me up and said, I'm coming in on Iraqi Airways. I'll be there about this time. So I thought to myself, no problems at all. I've done this 100 million times. I'll go and collect him. So we usually slipped out this little side of the base. It was called Entry Control Point 3. And we'd go and we'd be able to slide into the airport, pick up, do what we wanted, and come back in through ECP3. Anyway, that morning I got there and ECP3 was no more. It had been destroyed by incoming rockets that morning. So there was nothing at ECP3 but a whole stack of rubble and a lot of African guys with machine guns standing around. And I sort of drove up to it and they said, "No, you cannot come through here, sir." And I said, so which way do I go? I need to go and pick someone up from the airport. And they said, "Sir, you'll have to go through Entry Control Point 13, through the main gates of the camp." So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not going to go and get anyone to help me. I can do this by myself. So I thought, here we go. So I drove up to around the other side of the base to Entry Control Point 13, which is a massive place. You have no idea. You'd have to actually have been there to seen it. But they had 2 big turrets on either side, and it was like a bit of a maze getting in there. And it took me a while to get to the line, because there was a line of people trying to leave and a line of people coming in, and they sort of let people come and go. And finally got to the front of the line, and I asked the guy standing at the gate, said, "Which way is it, mate, to go to the airport? I need to go and pick someone up." And he just pointed a direction. And I thought, well, that's good. So anyway, I got out of the base and I'm driving past this big Birdman statue, which everyone will know that's ever been there. That's the edge of the Victory Base. And I'm driving on this massive 4-lane highway. I'm driving and I'm doing about 130, because there's just nothing over there. You just do whatever you like. So I'm driving and I'm thinking, I don't remember any of this. I've been in Iraq for nearly, almost 10 months and I haven't seen any of this stuff. So I'm driving and driving past burnt out cars, burnt out tanks, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I'm driving, I'm thinking, this is a long way to the airport. It's a little bit odd, a little bit strange. And I remember looking in the rear vision mirror of the car, and on the other side of the freeway going the other direction was those big green signposts that you see, with everything in Arabic except for one word. It said Airport 30 and it was going the other direction. And I thought to myself, oh no, I'm in the wrong space here. And where I was probably one of the most dangerous places in the entire world. I was driving the Road Irish, which connects the Victory Base to the Green Zone in downtown Iraq. And so I'm driving along there and thinking to myself, holy crap, what am I going to do now? So I thought to myself, I'll take the next exit, go over the overpass, try and get on the other side, because I couldn't drive down to the other side of the freeway because there was like lots of concrete blocks and barbed wire and all that sort of stuff. So I just maintained the speed, took the next exit up and over and out, and found myself in a turnpike going into an Iraqi suburb because there was this massive concrete wall that just never wanted to stop. And I'm driving and I started to get into traffic in Iraq, and I was panicking a little bit because I was in this brand new Mitsubishi Pajero. And I don't know if you guys know, but Iraq's been under an embargo for so long. All of the cars over there are really, really old. Well, my car was brand new, and it stood out like nothing else. And I'm sinking down in the car. I'm driving like this, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I remember thinking that as I was going along, and driving. And I finally got to turn around and go on the other side of this concrete wall. And these kids had seen me coming the other direction. And I remember they sort of, the next thing I know is the back window of my car smashes in because they thrown a rock at it. And I panicked and I drove up the gutter onto the footpath, and I started smashing through all these shops and stuff. And I'm driving, and I got back on the road, and I'm zigzagging in and out of traffic trying to get back to this Road Irish thing. And I almost made it all the way back and up and onto the freeway and going back the direction I needed to go when all of these Iraqi soldiers came running out onto the road with machine guns. And I slowed right down to a stop. And I stopped there, and one guy came running up to the car, and he had his machine gun. I just remember he went, dunk, 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 dunk. And I wound down the window, and he grabbed me by the hair and pulled me through the window. And he had me on the back of the ground with a gun to the back of my head. He was speaking in Arabic, and I remember saying, oh, this is it. I'm done now. This is it. It's all over. Anyway, finally they sat me up on a chair, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is good. We'll see what happens here. And one of them came and he goes, have you got papers? And I remember saying to myself, yes, I have papers. And I pulled out my passport and my badges to get into the Victory Base and the rest of that stuff. And I sort of said, yeah, papers like that. And the guy snatched it, ran into a car and drove away with it. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is great. Now I don't even have any identification. That's gone too. So I'm sitting there on the chair and I'm watching these guys pull my car to pieces because they pulled all the linings off the doors, they pulled the seats out, they stole all the water from the back, they took my, I had a whole stack of bottles of water, I had one of those flak jacket things, I had a helmet, they took all of that, they just left it, and I was like sitting there going like that as you do. So anyway, after a little while, probably another hour of sitting there, this other guy comes up and he's got all my paperwork and he's can speak a little bit English, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great, finally somebody I can talk to, I might be able to get out of this. And I was speaking to him, and I was speaking so quickly he couldn't understand me with the Australian accent, and so he just said, oh look, can't help you, and he left and he took my paperwork again. And after a while, they sort of grabbed me and they pushed me inside the shipping container that was on the side of the road. And they locked the door behind me. And there I sat for the rest of the day and a little bit of the night. And actually it was the whole night. And then the next morning, you're stuck in a shipping container locked up. The next day, this other general came in and he had my paperwork again. And this is what I need to tell you guys. I was sitting in that shipping container, and you can do a whole lot of thinking when you're in downtown Baghdad and there's nothing else to do, and you've seen all the videos with people in orange jumpsuits having their heads cut off, and you know that you're in a bad spot. And I said to the Lord, you get me out of this and I will come and serve you 100%. And yeah, the next day this other general came and he said, sir, you have to pay for the damage that you did up and down the main street. So he took me to an ATM. I'm thinking, this is the worst again, I'm going to take this money out. I'm going to keep coming back here until I run out of money. And we took out $1,000 because that's what I get, and I gave it to him, and he seemed happy with that. And he got me in my car and he drove me back to the base. And I remember going through and talking to the soldiers at the front gate, and they couldn't believe it because, there'd been so many times where I just thought I was bulletproof because there were so many times I almost got killed like that close. But this time he really affected me, and I'd made this deal with God, and he'd come through and gotten me out of it. So anyway, took me I got back to the base, told my boss with the story, and he said, Dave, you're out and about all the time, and we didn't even know that you were missing. This is just it. Usually you just park your car down there and you've flown off somewhere, and none of us would have even realised that you were gone. And he goes, but you've got a story that you'll be able to tell for the rest of your life, because I didn't actually tell him about the Lord part. That was just a part that I'm telling you guys because it becomes important a little ways down the story here. So anyway, it took me a whole month to get out of there because I didn't want to be there anymore after that. I didn't want to be in Iraq, and so I didn't tell my boss that I was leaving, but I bought my own ticket to get out of there, and I had to send off for a visa. So you have to get a visa to go into Iraq, and you have to get a visa to go out of Iraq. It's not a simple thing of you can come and go as you please. It doesn't work that way over there. So I waited for my visa to come back, and I was like panicky. I was like in a bad place for the whole month. I just thought I was going to die every time there was an incoming rocket, any time there was a helicopter going past, which was like all the time. I thought it was going to happen to me. So I finally got out of there, and I remember the day I was in business class in Gulf Air, and it touched down in Qatar, and I was like breathing out thinking, oh my God, thank God I got out of there. And I went through the international customs, and I'd get to my connecting flight, and I remember there was a pub, an Irish pub, in the international bar at the Qatar airport, and I drank 6 pints of beer there because you weren't allowed to drink in Iraq because they had it, but you had to sort of go out of your way to go and get it. And from that day for the next 3.5 years, I kind of stayed drunk. It's just the way it was. And I got myself a job back in the mines in Australia where I was running big mining camps. I was doing the catering and that sort of stuff for that as an operations manager / village manager. And I wasn't doing very well because I like to have a drink, and those two don't mix, especially when you've got lots of responsibilities. And I was a bit out of control, as you might know. Some of you that know me from before had a bit of a temper on me. It's kind of got the better of me sometimes. So anyway, I'd quit my job on this one particular camp that I was at. It was pretty big, and we just won a big contract. So that was working for a big company, a big catering company in Australia. And my mate had a baby with another lady, and he said, Dave, come on down, we'll go and have a beer to celebrate. And I thought, oh, this will be good, we'll go and have beers with him, and we'll have a good time. So we went out and we started drinking at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had a meal, and then we kept drinking some more. And remember, it was about midnight. Well, we couldn't drink any more beer, so we started doing the shots, as you do. And 3 o'clock in the morning, they kicked us out of the pub, and it was raining. I remember very clearly, it was raining like nothing else. And we're looking around going, well, this isn't good. Should we get a taxi? And I said, no, forget it. I'll drive, says me. And, it's only 100 metres up the road to your place, mate. We'll go and we'll crash in your place, and I'll drive, and we'll just take your car. So we get in his car. I get the keys, start it up, drive out of the car park of the pub, and we almost made it 10 metres up the road before the lights and sirens went on behind us. And there was a policeman in the back of us pulling me over because he'd seen me coming out of the pub drunk. So my mate decided he was going to ring his brother and tell his brother to come down and pick up his car, because once you get caught drink driving in Australia, it's not automatic jail, but they do tow your car away, and he didn't want his car towed. So he was on the phone to his brother to come and get him in his car, and I got out of the car to go and talk to the nice policeman. And he says, sir, have you been drinking today? And I said, yes, I've had a drink today. And he goes, all right, sir, I just want to blow into this breath testing machine. So I blew into the breath testing machine. And believe it or not, I blew 0. I think his breath testing machine was faulty. And anyway, I remember getting back into the car, and I started the car up and started to drive away. And my mate's going, what are you doing? What are you doing? He thought I was trying to escape. He thought I was that plastered that I was trying to escape the cops. So, and I said, shut up. No, we're getting away with this. Anyway, so I drove all the way home. And we got home and we were high-fiving each other. And we decided to celebrate by calling my wife, who lives in a different country. And we rang her up to tell her the good news about, how we just diddled the cops and all the rest of this sort of stuff. And I remember this cold silence on the other end of the phone, and she says, can you put your mate on, please? And I go, oh, sure, yeah. She wants to talk to you. And she gave it to him. She goes, how dare you make my husband drive the car when he is that drunk? You idiot. Now put the other guy back on. I back on, and she blasted me too, and then hung up. Both of us looked at each other and sort of took the whole hilarity out of the moment, and both of us went to bed. And I remember waking up the next morning, and I just wasn't right. I was like, it had been my last chance, like something was wrong. And that if I'd kept going the way I was going, I wasn't going to continue being alive, so to speak. And so I caught the bus back to where I was staying, because this guy lived in Perth and the place I was staying was down near Fremantle. And I'd been driving past this church a number of times, and it was Sunday because it was Saturday night that we'd gone out drinking, as you do. So anyway, I was coming past, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and the church had just started, and I was looking at it going, oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll go in there and see, I wouldn't mind going to church. I probably need to do something after last night. So I got off the bus, and I walked past it, and there was like I couldn't walk in. There was just something preventing me from going in, so I walked past, and I came back, and I walked past it again. And then I went back to walk past it the third time, and these people had arrived late, and I followed them in behind, and I sat in the back row. And I remember sitting there, and they were singing their song and all the rest of that sort of stuff. And it was a C3 church in Fremantle. So, and we all sat down, and the pastor up the front started his speech, and he said, I wasn't going to teach this today, but the Lord has put this heavily on my heart. And he said, there's a Jonah in here, and you promised me your life, and you have run away and gone somewhere else. And I remember it just touched something deep inside me, and I just broke into 100 million pieces, and I started to cry. And the guy did an altar call right there, and I came out the front. And I just don't remember what happened after that. But I remember they couldn't keep me in there because there's a couple other guys there that had done the same thing, put their hand up, but there was one person that was clearly affected by his speech, and that was me. So anyway, they took me out the front, and a guy was giving me some literature and stuff, and I remember he wandered off to go and get something else. And I did a runner out the front door because that was all a bit much. And later that day, I sort of wandered the streets of Fremantle just crying and crying and crying. And I finally got to the beach. And I sat there and I said, Lord, you proved to me today that you are real, and I want you to be the Lord of my life. And I gave him my heart on the beach at Fremantle. And that was about 5 years ago. So... since that time, he's challenged me to do a lot of things, but I have a scripture that I just wanted to read, and take this any way you like, but it's one of those ones that I've got, didn't understand for a very long time, but I do now, and it's in Matthew 11, verse 12, and it says, and from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. And it's not until you actually change your life in such a radical way, like happened to me that day, that I didn't want to do the things that I'd done in the past. God is real, and he wants to know you, and he can know you. You just got to want to change inside, You've got to be able to invite him into your heart, and that's what happened to me. And it's very real and life-changing, and I didn't want to ever go back to that lifestyle that I had before, so I stopped watching TV. I stopped that a long time ago. It didn't interest me anymore. All I really wanted to do was pray and get to know him more. And that's where I'm at right now. So I hope that's out there and it's helped somebody. It's a little bit different to the last video that I put up, and I wouldn't mind doing some more teaching videos. So if you like what I'm putting up so far, I'm a bit of a young Christian, to a lot of you, I'm sure, but I do listen to what he has to say, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, if you like the video, please leave a comment. Hopefully I'll get back to you, but other than that, have a nice day. Yeah.